Okay, well, chapter 5, which we talked about, is going to be, excuse me. Chapter 5 is what we is about periodic inventory, which we talked about, right? Now, there's a couple two sections, right? We talked about the purchases first, and then we dove into how to cost it when we sell it. And of course, we also looked at sales. So in this case, right, for chapter 5, as far as the exam, it's just like I said, it's very conceptual based. I'm not going to be testing you too much about, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be testing you too much about on concept, but more for so about making sure you understand how to calculate the cost of goods sold. All right. So if you remember, inventory, right, is we're going to be looking at inventory as if we are the retail standpoint. So we need to first determine what is going to be the cost of inventory, right? For the test, you guys already know it's going to be purchase expense and freight expense. That's it. Okay. You don't need to know about shipping for this test, but you need to know the difference between the tracking methods, right? Obviously, we didn't learn about perpetual inventory, but you need to know the difference between the two for the exam, right? Because when we come back from the exam, that's where we will learn about perpetual inventory. Okay, I just need you to know that these two tracking methods exist, right? And that I'm going to be testing you for the costing method for periodic. Okay, you just need to know what the difference is. Okay. Okay. So when we're talking about purchases of inventory, right? You are responsible to know how to journalize it, right? Like I mentioned before, you're responsible for knowing purchase expense and freight expense. Okay? And if I say I paid it on an account or I paid in cash, you need to be able to separate the costs and differentiate, right? That you need to debit your expenses and that you need to credit either your asset if you paid in with cash, or you'd increase a liability by owing the vendor on an account. Okay, make sure you need to recognize, because I will test you on journalizing. So, okay. And of course, purchase discounts. I will ask you a question on how to complete the net method. So we have here, right? You guys need to understand what 2%, 15, net 30 means, okay? These are going to be conditions that or discounts that vendors typically offer to us, right, as an incentive, so then we can pay them back quicker, right? As I mentioned before, typically we would use the gross method because as a small business, you wouldn't know if you have enough money. So I'm going to be testing you on how to be able to journalize the net method. Okay, so no to gross method, but net method, right? When we take a look at the scenario and we're going to look at our purchases, we're going to automatically assume, right, that we're going to pay them on time. So therefore, I'm going to take the discount immediately. So therefore, when I journalize it, I'm journalizing it at discounted prices. All right, I'm already taking the discount out automatically. So make sure you know how to journalize this, okay? I'm not gonna more so test you on the payment itself. Just making sure that you know how to add in the discount when you journalize for the net method. Okay, and that's it for chapter 5.1, right? And we also talked about what happens when you do a purchase returns and allowances, right? In this case, right, we have to create a contra account for the purchase returns and allowances. Okay, straightforward, right? When you first make the purchases here, you also need to know how to journalize the return, okay? Understand the difference between a return and an allowance. The return is where you're getting a full refund. The product is being returned to you, so you're going to grant them all their, we're going to be receiving all the money back. So in this case, right, we can only receive money on the original cost. You can't refund or return shipping or handling, okay? So make sure you remember that, right? And you have to create a contra account for the purchase returns and allowances, okay? And the other one, right, you also have to note that when you are attempting to return, but you're getting a percentage back, that's considered an allowance, okay? So that's the difference between the two. Returns is where you return the full amount. Allowances where is going to be giving a percentage discount off of the amount that you're trying to return. So in this case right here, we're trying to return 25 of those 25 mugs, right? At $1.25. What we have to do is we have to take that 125, times it by the 25 things that we're trying to return, and we're going to calculate the discounted amount on there, okay? And that's going to be the money that we're going to be refunding back for, okay? So make sure you understand that, okay? And then, of course, last but not least, the main focus of the exam, right, is going to be testing on how you understand how to cost the inventory, right? We've mentioned before FIFO, LIFO, and weighted average. So guess what? You're going to have all three questions or all three scenarios where you will be tested on FIFO, LIFO, and weighted average. So the idea here is you need to be able to know the difference on what you're calculating, okay? So here's a quick overview because we're going to be practicing how to calculate each one, okay? So overview here is if we're doing first in, first out, right? We note that what the batches that we purchase first, or usually they're in a list at the top, we're going to be making our way down to the bottom, okay? So we're going to go from top to bottom, right? Our purchases that we purchased first all the way down to the purchases that we made last, okay? Top to bottom. Where when we're looking at LIFO, we're looking at bottom to top, okay? So in this case, we're going to be taking our last purchases and we're going to get rid of those ones first, and we make our way up to the top, to the first batch of purchases, okay? Whereas the weighted average, we don't care what batch came first. We don't care about what batch came last. All we care about are the grand totals, because then once we have the total amount of inventory items that we have purchased in grand total with the total cost, then you're going to figure out the average cost per item. And then every time you sell a product, you are not making a differentiation between them. You're just associating that every single item that you sell all costs the same. Okay? And that's that. All right? So that's chapter 5 for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into our study guide here, and let's answer the questions. Okay. Question number 25. Okay, what are the tracking methods used for inventory? A, periodic and perpetual. Okay. B, okay, what are the costing methods used in inventory?
All of the above?
All of the above. Remember, just because I don't teach specific ID, that doesn't mean that inventory method does not exist. Okay? So, yes, all of the above. Okay. Let's see, this question here says, okay, an auto repair shop, okay, stocks inventory based on car manufacturing brands, models, and car parts. Okay, this is an example of what kind of inventory costing method? Mm,
Specific ID.
specific ID.
I think about Kimberly with this one because this is the example that you gave her when she was asking about specific ID.
Yes, okay. So in this case, right, if you're selling inventory based on a specific item, right, every single car part, right, is it has to be ordered, right? You can't have a one size fit all type of part, right? You can't have a universal water pump for majority of the cars, but then again, it's not gonna work because sometimes the car part is like angled at a different way, or just the structure of it. So it's very important that you know that an auto repair shop is going to be dealing with specific ID type of costing method, because not every item is a one size fit all. It has to be based on the car itself, right? You can't expect the car to be anything that comes in, right? It's going to be based on the car brand, the model, the year, and the actual specific part. Okay. Okay. Number 28. Delivery charges are made on COD. What does that mean?
Cash on delivery?
Cash on delivery. Good. Right? It doesn't mean crate on departure or code on demand or currently ordered has been discharged. Okay. Number 29. Okay. What is the definition of periodic and perpetual? A. Periodic means once in a while, and perpetual means constantly. Yes. In this case, I'm asking you what the actual English term is. So, yes. Okay. This is also going to help you, especially when we dive into the next concept, right? When we talk about perpetual versus periodic, perpetual, it's constantly, right? We're going to be constantly updating our inventory. Whereas periodic, right? The reason why we only check once in a while is because someone has to physically go down to the basement and actually count how many items are actually in inventory. Okay. All right, true or false? At the end of the at the end of the period, okay, under the periodic tracking method, a conversion entry is required or is needed.
True?
That is true, right? When we dive into perpetual, you won't need one. Okay. So let's go ahead and practice this little example here. Let me make sure the whole thing's there. Okay, so use the following information with the table to answer the next two questions, okay? So this is the exact format that I'm going to be testing you on. I'm going to give you a little series right here that has a bunch of dates on them and a bunch of transactions, and the table is going to be provided. Like I've mentioned before, you are strictly only being tested on just purchases, so no returns or allowances in the scenario, okay? and you are only subjected to be able to be tested on actually calculating the costing method. All right. So in this case, right, important information that you need to know is your tracking and costing method is periodic FIFO. Okay. So there you have it, the word FIFO. So here's a simplified table, because again we don't have our returns, allowances, or anything else. And we don't need to have anything else. So all we're going to be caring about is just our net purchases and what goods are available. Okay, so in this case, or what cost of goods sold. So in this case, first thing that we have here is on June 1st, you made a purchase of 100 toys at $1 each. Freight is going to cost you $25. So date is going to be June 1st. What did we make a purchase of?
100.
So what's my purchase price or purchase expense going to be?
100.
$100. My freight was $25.
125. 1.5.
Yes. So my cost per item is going to be $1.25. Okay. Then we have on June 10, we made another purchase of 200 toys costing at $1.25 with the freight costing $50. So once again, it's June 10. We have 200 items at $1.25 with the freight costing $50. So what's my total? What's my purchase price here?
250.
$250 plus 50
300.
gives you a total cost of $300. And what is my cost per item?
I got 150.
$1.50. Okay. Let's see what happened next. On June 12th, you sold 200 toys at $5 each. No sales tax. What do I do with that piece of information right there?
You can either write it down somewhere else or just keep track of it on the side because we're entering purchases, correct?
Correct. Good. So in this case, we don't really care about what we sell because at the end of the day, right, or the end of the month, the end of the given period, someone takes a physical count and tells you how much you have on hand. All right, so good. All right, so then on June 15, we purchased 300 toys at $1.50 with the freight costing 75 cents. So in this case, June 15, 300 at $1.50 with a freight of 75. So what's my total purchase price here?
450.
450 plus 75,
525.
525, bringing $1.75. Good. All right. Then on June 20th, we sold another 250 toys at $5 each. No sales tax was charged. Okay. Do we do anything with that one?
No.
No. So lastly, we have June 30th that you have a total of 150 toys on hand. All right? So right here, I already filled that in for you. So let's go ahead and calculate my totals. So what's the total quantity that I purchased? 600 items, okay? All right, at what purchase price? Total purchase price?
800.
800, and what was my freight?
150.
150, bringing my total cost to be
950.
950, right? So then if I sold, if I have 150 left, how many items did I sell?
450.
You sold 450. Okay, right? Because if we have a total of 600 and then we have a remaining balance of 150, then we sold 450. Okay? So now we need to calculate our cost per item. I'm sorry, we need to calculate our total cost. So in this case, right, what method are we using?
FIFO.
FIFO. Okay, so therefore, which batch are we going to take out from first?
From the
100.
top.
From the top, which is the 100, right? So in this case, right, I want to be taking out my first 100, which costs me $1.25, which in grand total is $125. Okay. Which batch are we going to take out from next?
200.
We're going to take away from the 200, right? We're going to take all of it. Okay. Which is going to cost me a total of $300. Last but not least, right? So we have a total of 300 that we sold. How many more do we need to sell?
150.
We need to sell 150. And in this case, we only have one batch left. How much is it going to cost me per item to sell?
$1.75.
$1.75. So in this case, what is 150 times 175? $1.75. What was that?
225.
225.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then in grand total, what is my total cost going to be?
I got that 650.
650. Hold on. Let me. Okay, hold on. I did not get 225.
Is that where it's 150. Okay, 225.
How are you getting 225?
150 times, oh, 105. Okay, 175. I'm sorry.
No worries. I was like, how did you get that number?
You see, that's what I couldn't get the right answer.
All right.
I did everything right, and then I couldn't find the answer on the multiple choice. So, well,
All right. So in this case,
in this case, 262.
262. There you go. That's why I looked at it. I was like, that's not right. All right. So what is 262 plus 300 plus 125?
Now let's do my cost. Okay, I got it. 300 plus 125.
Okay. So if this is 687.50, right? What is going to be my ending balance?
Just the 50.
Right. Okay. So there we go. Let's take a look at the answer. So the question here is this is the exact kind of question I'm going to ask you on the exam, okay? What is the total cost of your ending inventory on hand.
Okay, that's 262.
Exactly. Good. 262 because we solved for it right there. Okay? And then what is the total cost of your cost of goods sold?
687.50.
687.50. Excellent. Okay? Good.
So my question for you
Mhm.
is, so we don't care whatever happened between the transaction. Let's say we sold, well, we don't do anything with those information that you have in the middle of the statements, right? Like
Um
we sold.
Yes. So if we're because in this case, right, we don't care about what we sell because at the end of the given period, right, someone goes down to the basement and takes a physical count for you. So at that point, right, you're assuming that you sold those items. Now, for practice purposes only, if you'd like to, you could keep track of your sales, right? On like Erica said, right on the side, right? Because if you look here, right, if we sold 200 on the 12th, and then we sold additional 250, right? If that's a way that you could do it too. But oftentimes when we're looking at this way, right? We made a return. We made a person returned inventory to us. So in this case, right? We don't keep track of that. We only care about what happens when we reach the end of the given period and we take a physical count and we see that we have this many items left on inventory. And our assumption is that means everything else that we have has been sold. Okay, so in this case, we don't keep track of what we sell. No.
Got it.
All right. So then another same exact scenario, except this time, right? Your tracking and costing method is periodic weighted average. So this is the weighted average one. So let's go ahead and calculate and do the following. All right. So once again, June 1st, we made a purchase of 100 toys at $1 each, with the freight costing you $25. So total price here,
$100.
$100. Plus 25 gives us a total cost of.
125.
In this case, right, do we need to calculate the cost per item?
No.
You don't have to because we don't care for it, right? We're not going to associate this batch came first or this batch came last. We don't care. Okay? Because here we already know with the given scenario that there's going to be more than one batch, right? But if this was your only batch that you purchased, then yes, you do need to calculate because that's all that you have. All right? Next thing here we have is going to be June 10. We purchased. Okay. So June 10, we purchased 200 items at $1.25 with the freight costing you $50. So what is my total purchase price?
250.
250 plus 50.
300. 300.
Okay. All right, good. 300, right? No need to do the cost per item. Okay. On June 12th, we sold something, so we don't care about that, right? Then June 15. Okay. We purchase 300 items at $1.50 with the freight costing 75. So in this case, what's my total purchase here?
450.
450 plus 75,
Total cost 525.
525, all right? And of course, we don't care about the sale that we had on June 20th. However, we have on June 30th that you have a total of 150 items on hand. So in this case, right, I have 150. Now, our costing method is weighted average. So in this case, what should my numbers look like? Okay, so let's see. We have a total of 600 items at a total purchase expense of
800.
800 with a total freight of
150.
with a total cost of
950.
950. So here, how do I calculate or how much is my average cost per item?
We take the total cost divided by quantity.
Okay, so in this case, what's my total cost?
950.
950. It,
Divided by
good. So I'm going to go ahead and place it here real quick. So 950 divided by 600 gives me a total average cost per item to be.
1.58.
Okay, give me the other two numbers.
33.
Okay. All right. So this right is going to be that number there. Okay. So in this case, if I have 150 items left, how many did I sell?
450.
We sold 450. So in this case, right,
Yeah.
we're going to calculate it exactly like this. So 450 times my average cost per item, because I don't care what batch came first or what batch came last. I just care about what my total cost is or what my average cost per item is, because every time I sell an item, they're all going to be marked costing at the same price. So in this case, right, what's my total here? If I sold 450 items at $1.5833, what's my total cost here?
$712.49.
Okay. Keep going. I think there's more than that.
That's what I got too. 712.49.
Me too.
Because I think you guys round too short here. 950 divided by 600 should give you, okay, so if you keep extending this out, right, to more than 4 decimals, 33333, you're eventually going to get 49. You're going to get 49 something something something, and then it's going to be 50 cents.
712.50. Right,
Yes,
right,
712.50. Okay.
right. Rounding. With it just, yeah.
Okay.
So for this case, right, like I've mentioned before, right, we don't round the average cost per item. We kind of leave that in the calculator, which in this case, if you're using Excel, then just leave that formula alone. Do not round it, okay? Because you're going to round at the end when we calculate our total cost. So in this case, right, if I have a total cost of goods sold to be $712.50, how much is going to be my ending inventory?
To 3750.
$237.50. So let's take a look at our answers. Okay. What is the total cost of your ending inventory?
B.
Okay, 237.50 And what is your total cost of goods sold?
A.
Okay. Okay. Easy so far?
Yep, so far so good.
All right, so the last one is going to be the same exact scenario, but of course, I'm going to be testing you on how to do LIFO. So in this case, it's the same exact scenario. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste from up here since it's all the same. Right? On June 1st, right, we purchased 100 toys at a dollar each with a freight of 25. June 10, we purchased 200 at a 125 with a freight of 50. And June 15, purchased 300 at a dollar 50 with a freight of 75. So here we go. I have it all here to save some time, right? But this time, I am using LIFO, okay? If I have 150, right, we know that we sold 450. So in this case, right, now let's calculate it. How am I going to calculate this? Okay, if I'm using LIFO, which batch am I going to be taking out from first?
The 300.
The 300. We're going to take all of it. And the 300 cost me $1.75 each, which gives me a total cost of $5.25. Okay. How many more do I need to sell?
150.
150. And which batch are we going to be taking out from next?
The 200.
So in this case, we're only taking a portion of it. So I only need 150. What cost per item is that batch going to cost me? What's the cost per item here?
$1.25, which comes to 187.50.
Not $1.25. That's what it costs me to purchase it from the vendor, right? We need to include the freight.
So the 187 plus the cost of freight, you said?
187 plus the cost of freight. Where are you looking
Um,
at? Okay, so in this case, right, we've already calculated what it's going to cost me, including the freight.
I came up with 187.50.
Okay, so, all right. In this case, right, we've already calculated the cost per item, which includes the freight. How much is that for this batch right here? How much is it going to cost me to sell each item for the $200 the 200 item batch?
So you multiply 150 times $1.50. Is that correct?
Yes,
So the answer is 225.
225. Okay, so in this case, right, we're not looking at the cost it cost me to purchase it, right? Because in this case, when I charge my customers, I want to make sure that they pay everything, not just only what I paid, because that's selling myself short, right? That's telling me that I don't want to make a profit. So in this case, I want to make sure that they cover every single cost. So in this case, that's exactly why I calculated my cost per item. It's because I want to make sure that they include any shipping and handling and whatever taxes that are when I sell my items to my customers. So in this case, right, my shipping cost me $50. I'm going to make sure I spread that across my 200 items so then I know how much to charge my customers. In this case, it's going to cost me $1.50 to sell my second batch. All right, per item. So in this case, I'm going to calculate 150 because I only need to sell 150 items. And 150 times 1.5 or $1.50 gets me to 225. So then in this case, right, what's my grand total that I sold?
750.
750 is your total. So here, if I sold a total of 750, what is my ending balance?
200.
200, right? You take the 950 minus 750 to get 200. So now let's answer the question. What was the total cost of my ending inventory?
Should be B.
B.
The 200. B. Okay. And then last question is, what is the total cost of your cost of goods sold?
750.
750. Okay. And that is it. So once again, I will test you on how to calculate all three methods. Okay. I need you to be able to tell me that you know how to calculate the difference between all three of them. Now, of course, they're not going to be the same exact scenarios because then you'd be done in an hour. In this case, I will be giving you separate scenarios, but at the end of the day, you are responsible to calculate that and show me that you know what you're doing. Okay? All right?
Question.
Yes.
Regarding the chart in the test, are we gonna be able to type in, because you want us to do something similar to this? Are we gonna be able to do that, or I know you're gonna explain this when you tell us what to expect about the test, but I'm just curious.
Okay, so on Orabund, no, you're unable to actually type in anything. You're only asked the question and you have the multiple choice answers, right? Just like what we've been seeing, right? So so to answer your question, I will provide you the worksheets.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. So now that we answered this question right here, question number 37. On June 15, if terms are 5% 15 net 30, all right, and you decide to pay the vendor on June 30th, how much is the purchase discount?
I got this 2250.
20, say it again?
2250.
All right, how did you figure this number out?
5% of 450.
Okay, so in this case, on June 15, right, we purchased 300 items at $1.50, right? You can only take the 5% off of your original purchase price. So in this case, 450 times 5%. So let me see. Let me go ahead and. $450 times 0.5%, right? Gives me a total of $22.50. You said, Nathan?
Yeah. So what you got?
Yes, $22.50. Right? $22.50. Good. Okay. If on June 15th you found 30 broken toys, okay, and you return the items for a full refund, what is the correct entry? I'm sorry, what did you say?
No, I'm just gonna give the chance for us.
Oh, okay, yeah, go for it.
Letter B.
Letter B, purchase returns and allowances for $45, right? So the idea here is if we had a total of 30 broken toys, right? We know that for June 15, each toy that we purchased was $1.50. So 30, right, times $1.50 should give you a full refund of $45. Okay? And in this case, right, we need to look in terms of context, right? Sales returns and allowances is when we're dealing with the customer. So in this case, you are not returning toys to a customer. Okay, so A and D are eliminated. Now the question is, if you calculated this correctly, right, knowing that you can only return just the actual original purchase price, right, not including freight, then yes, B should be the correct answer, right? If you calculated with the freight, then you would get C. Okay, but in this case, you're correct. It is B. We're looking at just the original purchase unit selling price, okay, which is $1.50. Okay. All right, so that is all for chapter 5, okay? So things like that, okay, like I've mentioned before, right? You are responsible to know how to journalize a purchase. So I can ask you, okay, on June 1st, journalize the purchase of 100 toys on an account, okay? And you're going to tell me purchase expense for 100, freight expense for 25, and if it's on an account, accounts payable for 125, okay? So make sure you know that. I'm also going to test you on also journalizing sales. So if I say journalize the sales on June 12th, then you need to tell me, right, that it's going to be for what amount that you get, either cash or accounts receivable, sales, and most likely, I think on the exam, I do not have you guys include sales tax. Okay, so in this case, because of course, sales tax is relative. It depends on what state and what local county you belong to. So in this case, I'm going to say no sales tax. So you're only responsible to just understand cash and sales. Okay. All right, so chapter 6, right? We're going to talk about sales. Okay, straightforward sales. Okay. When we're dealing with periodic sales, right? The idea here is that we don't actually keep track of the sales itself. We actually wait till someone goes down to the physical inventory, right, warehouse, and takes a physical count to tell us, hey, you have this many items. So our assumption is that we are going to assume that if we don't have it, we must have sold it. All right. So in this case, right, when we're dealing with journalizing sales, as I've mentioned before, you will be looking at sales, but in this case, I will not test you on sales tax. But understand that you're either going to be associating with how you got paid, right? Either cash or you received an IOU, okay? And you're going to have sales, right? It's going to be whatever it is that it is calculated for, okay? That's it. Okay, that's all I'm going to test you here for this section here. I'm also going to test you on the 6.4, but what I meant for here, 6.1 is just journalizing sales. Okay. 6.2, all right, like I said, I could add like just exactly like how I had it earlier. What if a customer decides to return an item? Just make sure that you know exactly how to return an item, right? You have to create a contra account, right? So that was for the sales. You have to create a contra account called sales returns and allowances. So make sure you know the difference between sales returns and allowance and purchase returns and allowances, okay? Because purchase returns and allowance, we are dealing with a vendor, right? We're buying materials from a vendor, right? Hence the word purchases, right? But when we're looking at a customer standpoint, right, we are making a sale to a customer. So therefore, sales returns and allowances is going to be your contra account. Okay? And again, you're going to, if there is sales tax, which I told you, you won't be tested on sales tax, then you don't need to refund it. And then it's going to be refunded based on how they paid. In this case, if they paid in cash, we give them cash. If they paid on an account, we just reduce their account, okay, because they haven't paid us yet. All right. And of course, we're going to take a look at, right, allowances, same thing here. Just exactly like purchase returns and allowances, right? If we are refunding the customer for a full refund, then you're going to give them back all their the portion of their money completely back, right? It's a full refund, right? But there could be a chance where you could give an allowance, right? Let's say they missed the discount period, or you know, and then they're yelling at you. You could give them a discount on those items. You can give them a coupon, whatever it is, right? To kind of keep them being your customers. So you're going to be creating an allowance. You're not going to give them all their money back. You're going to give a portion of the money back. Okay. And of course, we talked about sales discounts, right? There's two different sales discounts, right? One as an overall sales, right? If we do an in-store discount, right, we're going to apply it overall to the entire amount of items, right? So make sure here you're going to be looking at sales discount, right? It's either we look at it as a grand total, or you could be looking at in terms of terms, right? If you give your customer terms. But as far as that, I don't believe I test you on that particular spot there. You guys are just strictly only to basically understand how sales works and being able to journalize it, okay? All right, so that's it for 6.1, 2, and 3. And of course, last but not least, I will be testing you on how to complete the lower cost of market, okay? So let's go ahead and dive right in, back right into the study guide, okay? Question number 39, okay? On June 24th, a customer returns 20 toys for because they're defected, okay? And of course, you give him a full refund, okay? What is the correct entry? So in this case, right, we're assuming that the toys, right, that this is a continuation. So we originally sold our toys for $5 each, right? Let's take a look. We sold our toys at $5 each. So in this case, right, if the question here is asking, they're trying to return 20 of those toys, what is going to be my amount that I'm going to be refunding? Which entry is going to be correct?
Is it D?
Sales return and account.
So it's either A or D.
D.
D, right? Because in this case, we're looking at the selling price. What did we sell to them, right? If it cost me $5 each, right? 5 times 20 is $100. So therefore, you're going to refund them for those $5. You're not going to refund them at the price it cost you to sell, okay? Because at the end of the day, right, you're not trying to break even. You're trying to make a profit. So in this case, you're not going to be calculating what it costs you, right, to sell. So good. You're taking the actual selling price of $5 each. Okay. Question number 40. Okay. If there was a store-wide sale, okay, where all toys are 40% off on June 20th, okay, what is the discounted amount? Okay, so let's take a look at this, right? It's a continuation. If on June 20th, right, I sold a total of 250 toys, right? No sales tax. So in this case, I sold 250 toys at $5 each. So therefore, if I had a store-wide discount, how much is going to be my discounted amount? So in this case, right?
Sales discount for 500. Right there.
Okay. So in this case, right? 250 times $5 gives you what, 1250?
450. Yeah.
Okay. And we're taking 40% of that. Okay, which gives you $500. So in this case, sales discount for $500 is correct. Okay, we're not looking at purchase discounts, right? We're looking at sales discounts, right? Excellent. And we're not looking at what it cost me, right? We're looking at what we sold it for. So the sales discount is for $500. Okay. Here we have use the following table to answer question 31. Well, oops, I meant 41. Okay. So in this case, right, I originally purchased something for $3.75. It's telling me that to replace it, it's going to cost me $3.66. My originally selling price is $8, and the cost of disposal is 77 cents, and the amount of profit that I want to earn is $3.45. So if you guys remember this, right, this is chapter 6.4, right? How do I solve for the ceiling price?
Do you take your selling price minus the cost of disposal to get the ceiling price?
Good. So $8 minus 77 cents. And what do I get as my ceiling price?
$7.23.
Okay, $7.23. Okay. What about my floor? How do I determine what my floor is?
You take the ceiling minus the profit.
So $3.45. And what is my floor?
$3.78.
$3.78. Now, the question here is I need to compare three numbers, right? I need to compare my ceiling price, okay? My floor, and what number? My replacement. Okay, so in this case, right? If I place them into numerical value order, right? 723, 378, and 366. Oh, sorry. Which number falls in the middle?
378.
378, right? This number is going to be in the middle, right? The highest is 723, the lowest is 366, so therefore 378 is going to be in the middle, and that's going to be your market price. Now then, the last question to answer is, which one's significantly lower? Is it the original cost of 375 or is it the market price at 378?
The original cost.
The original cost of 375. Okay, so therefore, the question here is at which price is lower, cost or market? In this case,
B. The cost of market. 375. Oh, okay. 375.
No worries. All right, so 375, right? That's what we solved for. All right. And that is it. That's exactly what's going to be on the exam. Okay, so basically, this test right here, or this study guide, was, I guess, another practice test. Okay. So again, I'm going to be uploading this exact study guide on the Google Classroom. It's going to be under study materials. So yes, you can use this to help you on the exam if it helps you for the exam. Okay. All right, everything is fair game. So, as I've mentioned before, right, your exam is going to be 50 questions, multiple choice, and there's only a small section that is actually going to be calculation, which is going to be doing the actual tables. So if you guys have noticed and you took a look at the test number 1 folder, you're going to notice that I uploaded 3 files, okay? I've uploaded a Word document, I've uploaded a PDF, and I've also uploaded Excel. Whichever preference that you like to use, whichever one, this is your Scratch worksheet, all right? And if I pop it up, right, I'll do my PDF, right? Something I can print out. Let's see. I give you the inventory worksheet, right? 1, 2, and 3. So like I've mentioned before, you're gonna be tested on all 3 methods to calculate the cost of goods sold, right? And here I provide the worksheet for you. All right. I've also provided some journals for you to practice your journals. So as I mentioned before, right, I could ask you to journalize a purchase. I could ask you to journalize a sale, okay? I can ask you to journalize the net method, okay? Whichever question I ask you, here's the space that you could use to kind of jot your idea down to see if this is correct or not, okay? Make sure you read the question carefully because an answer, I could say, for letter E, could be E and or A and B, right? And I don't want you to select A and miss out half that question because you selected A and not A and B. Okay? So I gave you enough journal space. I even provide you the lower cost of market table. All right, and that's all that you should expect because again, chapters 1 through 4 are purely conceptual based questions, right? So for this test, majority of the questions will be conceptual based because chapter 5 and chapter 6 are the only ones that we actually see calculation for, which as you can see, right? If you think about it, every table could roughly have 2 questions, right? What's the ending balance and what's the cost of goods sold? So if you think about it, that's already 6 questions right here, right? And of course, your lower cost of market is another question. And of course, like I've mentioned before, right? I could ask you to journalize a purchase. I could also ask you to journalize a sale. So again, those already, you could see that at least a quarter of the exam should be more calculations, okay? Where 75% of the exam is more conceptual based. Like, what is this? What is the accounting principle? Or I can ask you, like earlier, right? What is an example of an accounting principle, right? What is the business and economic entity, right? And I can ask you definitions. So please, 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 please make sure you know it, okay? So here, I provide the worksheets for you. So again, I provide it in all 3 formats: Word, if you want to type it in, PDF if you want to print out and write everything in, or Excel if you prefer and understand how Excel works. You can use your formulas and you can type everything in. Now, of course, what I've seen some students do is if you are studying for the exam, go ahead and take this scratch work paper, right? and write down the formulas on there. So when you take the exam, you can go ahead and just answer the question right then and there. All right. So again, everything on this Google Classroom, you can have it. I'm not saying anything. I'm allowing you to use the sources, the resources, okay? Because I understand this stuff is hard. I'm not expecting you to memorize it, right? Even in class, I allowed you to bring in a cheat sheet if you like. All right? I even allow you to take the study guide practice exam and be able to use it for your test because I don't know. Maybe you might see a similar question. Maybe you might see the exact question. I don't know, right? Because everything in this class or on the exam is going to be things that you've seen before. I'm not going to throw something new to you. Okay? So, any questions? Your exam starts tomorrow at 8 a.m. Okay? And you have until Saturday at midnight to complete the exam. Please, since the one thing I ask is because I allow you 3 days to take exam. I'm allowing you a whole day that you're supposed to be dedicated for this class to take the exam. All right? But like I've mentioned before, if you don't feel that you're ready, then take Thursday to study. Take the exam on Friday. You don't like your first score, take it again on Saturday. Okay? I'm allowing you to try and aim for a better score. I am helping you by helping yourself, okay? By providing everything that you need for this test, okay? And the fact that I allow you to retake the exam without without the questions changing, right? If you're not sure about a question, write it down, look it up, and then come back for it and answer it and see if you're able to answer it correctly, right? Every question has an answer, okay? There's not going to be a free response answer where you have to type it in, all right? All the answers are there. It's just the fact that you have to know the answer to be able to answer the answer correctly, okay? So as like again, the test is unlimited time. So a lot of my students, right, if they're not very familiar, not very sure, they told me that on average it took them for the first exam 4 hours, which is right, okay? And that's what I aim for, right? And like I said, I allow you to have everything open note, open lecture note, open exercise, open study guide, open PowerPoint, whatever it is to help you be able to take your exam. All right? Any questions there? Okay. I will also post the link to the exam or to Orbund at least, just like how I've been doing for your journals. I will post the link here and put the full announcement on there if in case you choose to take it at a later date. All right, go ahead, Sarah. Was that a question?
No, I was just saying, I was just answering your question. I'm sorry,
Okay.
can you repeat what you just said?
Which part?